Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack, and we are like, yeah, well, you know what we're like? When you're too lazy to do your gardening, so you hire some landscapers to like mow your lawn and trim your hedges and all those things. Like they just maintain it, right? We're maintaining the Impact Attack for you. And who is we? I'm Jamie Williams, and alongside me is my tag team partner, Brandon. What's up, Brandon?
Yo.
Right. So, we're going to maintain a lovely review of the March 9th episode of Impact for you. And who is you? Brandon, who do we have with us right now in the live chat?
Who is they? They are here, even though 10-10-10 was a good almost 13 years ago. But they tonight are Buckshot Kid, Lab Rat, Lisbeth, Hate Bot Pal, and Javi Uchida. What is up, guys? How y'all doing tonight?
That's right. Get me Hate Bot. That's right. So you guys, we're maintaining your impact for you, impact attack for you. Don't worry. We'll take good care of it. We're not going to cut it unevenly or anything. We might even get real fancy and do like a Edward Scissorhands topiary deal. All right, just for you. So let's talk about. Let's get this out of the way first. Couple news items that have been floating around. It was brought to my attention earlier today that there are rumors that Bray Wyatt walked out of WWE due to some creative issues. That's how the rumor was presented to me. Apparently, these things are going around online. When you go to look up some actual articles, let's say, for example, you go to Wrestling Inc. and you pull up one of these articles, it'll say that a report from Fightful Select says that a source familiar with the situation claims that Wyatt is dealing with a physical issue and there's no timetable for return. But they're also reporting that materials are brought in for Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. Every SmackDown have not been brought in the last 2 weeks. And so, you already haven't seen Bray Wyatt. He wasn't on this past episode of SmackDown. I guess he wasn't on the one before that. So Lashley is trying to carry it on by himself, but, he got attacked by Uncle Howdy on the March 3rd episode, is what they're saying here. Now it says, contrary to online rumors, they're careful to say this. There's been no indication from Fightful source that Wyatt's issues has anything to do with creative. See, listen to the careful wording that they use in these articles. There's been no indication from Fightful source saying, hey, look, Fightful said it. We didn't say it. We're just Wrestling Inc. We're a humble wrestling rumor website. We're not saying that there aren't issues or creative or whatever. But, and of course with Vince McMahon being at a Raw last week with a mustache, like everybody's tying it into this, like the fact that Vince McMahon's around. Now, anytime that anybody says anything or does anything different than what they're supposed to do, then people are going to say, oh, Vince McMahon's back. He's back. Vince McMahon's back. He's back. He's got a mustache. He's back, So you can't even get a good picture of the real Vince McMahon with a mustache. But, we have to settle for all these doctored pictures and stuff. Like, you mean to tell me now one person was able to snap a Vince McMahon pic? You're going to leak all these other rumors and other stuff on the internet, and you're going to constantly feed these dirt sheets, all these people that work there, and you can't get me one legit picture of Vince McMahon with his mustache? Come on. How am I supposed to trust anything you guys say?
Not at the hotel, at the airport. I mean, I can understand not getting any backstage pics. I get that, but that's not the only place he's at that night.
No, of course not. But even if it was, even if you somehow smuggled Vince McMahon in, like with a bag over his head or something, and just had him there the whole time, you mean to tell me nobody's gonna be like, oh hey Vince, good to see you. Oh, excuse me, I got a text message. Hold on. Yeah, it's like nobody's gonna be across the room like, you know what I mean? It's like, get out of here. Get out of here. How dumb do you think we are? So, anyway, I don't know what to believe on this. I could definitely believe that he could walk out because he's walked out before. Not just released. Like, there's reasons why he got released before. You know? Like, he actually has had these same sort of issues which led to his release, for them saying he's not worth the money we're paying him with all the headaches that he's causing for us and all the expenses that his gimmick ideas and stuff cost us. So I'm sure they were very fine with that, letting him go. And if this is another case of it, then what can I say? But well, you know how I feel, guys. Good riddance is basically what I say. What about you, Brandon? What do you say?
I was always entertained by his creativity and what he put on the screen. I just don't think WWE was the correct environment for him. Like, he is somebody you cannot put any handcuffs or restraints on him. It's basically just like, okay, what direction do you want him to go, and just tell him to go. I think it was just a bad environment for him.
I worry that was what they did, and that this is what we get. that's full. Like, either way, if it was, whether it was the first time when he had all these ideas and they let him do it, or if it was this time that he had all these ideas and they let him do it, and either of the other ones were the times when his creativity was stifled, none of it's been good to me. So I don't know, but that's just me. I do realize that this is not. I am not the target audience for this guy and his fucking shenanigans.
I mean, as when it comes to being creative, I can at least speak on part of like what killed my desire to kind of work and try to go towards the WWE was all the stories of how much they stifle you, how much they control you and overproduce it. And it's like I couldn't even be in that kind of environment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the kind of environment it is. So if he's really some kind of a tortured genius who just can't do all of the stupid shit that he wants to do that has nothing to do with professional wrestling, then he's in the wrong place.
I mean, there's other promotions you can do that in. AEW would actually probably be a better fit for him if he wants to stay in wrestling.
Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true too. Just ask Matt Hardy how that went for him.
Right. This motherfucker. Let us never forget that Matt Hardy teleported on live television. But yeah,
I was kind of more thinking along the lines of how he took that fall off the scaffold and hit his head, and the thing like, oh, he's good, let him keep going.
Oh, well, that's Matt Hardy's fault. Fuck him. He shouldn't have done it. But yes. So there you go. Rumors for Bray Wyatt, and no one has anything concrete. Let's very exciting. Liz says, as a creative person, I could say that he likely needs the freedom to create. However, he also needs the person that reins him in and keeps him on task. I bet that he. It looks like I bet that's what he needs. Maybe she wanted to say. AEW would be the definite because he needs some fences to stay in. I don't know. Maybe he should just realize that that wrestling is nothing about what he wants to do. Like, clearly everything he does has nothing to do with wrestling. So why doesn't he just go somewhere else and do something then? It's almost like he's got all these things he likes, and then he has to tack a wrestling match onto it, and that's where it falls apart. So, no matter what anybody says, at the end of the day, you can call yourself entertainment. You can call yourself entertainment. You can say we make movies, pal. You can say any fucking thing you want. At the end of the day, you guys are still putting matches on the air, and that's all you're ever going to do. It's never going to change. You're not going to become some evolution of Lucha Underground or anything like that. You're just going to have fake wrestling matches. So I don't know why you try to go so far outside the box just to come back to the same place where it now no longer makes sense. All right. That's rant over. You guys have heard me say that 100 times by now. Maybe we should talk about something that pertains to Impact Wrestling for a moment. Another headline from Wrestling Inc. Scott D'Amore promoted to Impact Resting. Oh, he got promoted to Impact Resting. That's different. So maybe this is
Wow.
maybe Anthem gave him like a fake promotion and he didn't read the fine print and see that he's not the president of Impact Wrestling. All right, guys, maybe you can. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I do your proofreading for free, but you definitely need to find somebody to check if this is the headline too. This isn't even like a line in the article. But anyway.
Hopefully, none of those NDA movies are found on Epstein Island.
So Scott D'Amore is now the president of Impact Wrestling after receiving a promotion. The press release says Scott has established himself as the leader of Impact Wrestling since joining us in 2018, reestablishing the promotion as one of the finest professional wrestling promotions in the world. Ed Nordholm, the chief corporate officer of Anthem, said in a press release. He joining us in 2018. God, well, that soon? I thought he'd been there longer than that. He must have been gone for a long time, right?
D'Amore or Nordholm?
It says Scott has established himself as a leader of Impact Wrestling since joining us in 2018.
That might have
is
been
he talking about Impact Wrestling joining Anthem in 2018?
Or I think him joining that iteration of it when it was bought out by Anthem in like 2017, 2018.
Oh, wasn't that the one with well, they brought Don Callis in around that time too?
Yeah, it was him and Callis at the same time.
Okay. All right. Okay, so well, the next line here solves that. It says D'Amore returned to
they may be referring to him as being an employee of Anthem for that long.
D'Amore returned to Impact Wrestling in an executive role in 2018 after having first worked with the promotion from 2003 throughout 2010. In 2014, D'Amore left the promotion to follow Impact founder Jeff Jarrett to his new Global Force Wrestling promotion. Well, we saw how that went. And who wouldn't want to bring him back after Global Force's massive success?
Global Force Gold, pal.
That's right. Yep. And then it said he followed Jarrett back to Impact Wrestling when Jarrett returned to lead the company and brought back several key figures. D'Amore continued working his role as the promotion vice president of international relations, became the head of creative once Jeff Jarrett again left the promotion, and was then promoted to be co-vice president alongside Don Callis. So, other news on Monday, they also named Lou D'Angeli the vice president of marketing. Richard Schaefer is named the president of Anthem Sports Group, which, quote, aggressively pursue additional acquisitions in the combat sports and professional wrestling businesses under his leadership. Good for little Tuggles Scott D'Amore there. He's got a new title. I don't know, what does that mean in relation to what his title was before. What does a pro wrestling company president actually do? Well, do you have any thoughts on this historic maneuver from Anthem Sports?
I mean, like, yeah, you said it. Like, how does his responsibilities and duties change? What new powers does he get?
I don't know. Maybe he'll have enough power to bring Bray Wyatt in to do all this silly creative. Yeah, all right. No more headsets for Scott, Elizabeth says. It means more guards, Lab Rat says. GFW is where we got Fallah Bah from, so I'll allow it. Well, we don't have him now.
And I think Congo Kong came from GFW too, right?
Maybe. I don't remember, because Congo Kong had an Impact run, but I don't remember if that was before or after 2018. I feel like it was before. But I could be wrong. Someone will correct me in the chat. if I am. But well, anyway, there you go. There's your news, and there's more news. Like I don't know, former wrestler Crimson violated his restraining order and is being held on $1,000 bail. If that's interesting to any of you, but he's in NWA now, if anything. So I don't have to worry about him. He used to be called Crimson. That's all that matters. So, without any further ado, what do you say? Should we jump in, or do we have any other news or any other things you want to talk? We can talk about anything. We don't have to talk about wrestling news. We could talk about all kinds of stuff. We could talk about our favorite bands, women that have broken our hearts, Impact Wrestling. If Colin were here, he might get that joke, but probably not.
Nah, I think we can hit the Impact. Whoop whoop.
Okay, well, we get our usual recap, and then we open with Bully, and we're gonna have an in-ring, and he's gonna talk about Tommy Dreamer making some challenge for a busted open match, and he's like, "What is a busted open match?" Which is the same question I have anytime anybody comes up with some name of a match. Like, what is that? And he's also Bully's out here doing some light, I'll say for him, it's light crowd work. Like, he doesn't really go as hard as he has in the past. If you guys have never seen ECW Heatwave 98, I want to say.
One of the most vulgar things I've ever heard said to somebody in the crowd.
Yeah. So this one, he's just telling somebody to sit down, or he'll take their daughter home with him or some shit. I don't know. Or a sister, he said, sister. So yeah, then Santino comes out and calls him Bobby Ray, and gets just that one line gets a Bobby Ray chant going, like a strong Bobby Ray chant going.
Man, anything can become a chant these days.
Mm-hmm. And it will. But he says that by the time Sacrifice rolls around, that Dreamer will have a healed retina, and he'll be good to go. So Bhupinder Gujjar comes out with a message in Hindi, and then Santino translates it as "You're a son of a gun," and that Gujjar wants a match right now. That's what he said, in according to Santino in Gujjar's native language. So, there you go. So we get a match right now. So before we move on to the match, what'd you think of this little opening here with Bully, Santino, and Bhupinder?
I'm liking what they're doing with Gujjar. It's at least they're giving us some character development, having him stand up to Bully. But man, Dreamer looks bad in that. Like, he's clearly struggling to get Bully Ray up.
Okay. Well, that's a little bit later. We haven't even got that far yet.
Oh. But yeah, I like it. It's decent, nice little setup so far.
All right. Well, spoiler alert. Tommy Dreamer's going to come out. So yeah, the official match, Bully Ray versus Bhupinder Gujjar. Bully does not get the chain trick to work twice. He was trying to sucker him in again for that chain punch, but this time Gujjar ducked it. They have a little bit of a match, and when Gujjar finally gets the chain, before he can get his redemption, Bully Ray just punches him in the balls, gets DQ'd blatantly in front of the ref. Which I was just thinking, like, realistically, that's what this shouldn't have not have been about, wins and losses. So as soon as Gujjar got that chain, he should have nailed him. So this is how they got out of it. So that was pretty good. And Tommy, that's when Tommy Dreamer runs in to save Gujjar from getting a chain beating, because Bully's about to whip him with this chain. So he runs in, and then he picks Bully Ray up for some kind of a Death Valley driver, I assume, but we never get to see it because Masha Slamovich runs in and punches him in the balls. And then they're about to beat him up some more, and then Mickey, he's about to powerbomb Tommy Dreamer, but nobody's going to powerbomb Tommy Dreamer. I don't care who you are. Mark Henry wouldn't be able to get him up. And then Mickey comes in to save the spot with a kendo stick. It hits Bully. And then, eventually the heels powder out or whatever. They're about to assault Mickey too, but and the other two guys woke up and chased them off. So there's your opening two segments. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, and if you wanted to play some sports entertainment bingo tonight, we might even get a bingo. I finally figured out something else to put in my last spot for bingos to give me a total of 24 items with a free space for a 5-line card. And that was, I just realized I hadn't really written it down, but when referees all just come out and they wave and beg off for somebody not to attack somebody, but they don't actually try to stop them. They just stand there and watch them do it. Yeah, I put that one in there because I've seen that a lot lately. But you can mark the space with, I can't mark the wrestlers making their own matches space because technically Santino just granted a wish. But you could have said a kendo stick, an instance of kendo stick counts as a sports entertainment bingo slot. So just Mickey just running out there already. Yeah. All right. So now we've got our we've got our alliance with Bully and Masha. We weren't sure about that. She didn't seem that into it at first, but now she's back and she's helping out. And this really has nothing to do with Mickie James or anything else at the time that she comes out. I could understand if, Mickie James was already out there, but Masha just came out and hit Tommy Dreamer. There was no guarantee that Mickie was ever going to show up. So that means that she's definitely, in league with Bully Ray. So that's a development there. But other than that, I mean, what did you see or what did you take from this?
I had thought this was setting up a potential Mickie dropping the title later. Because this would have made sense. Because after this, it would have made sense for Bully and Masha to come out and do something to pay back what Mickie did in this segment.
So Labrat says thoughts on Masha versus Nick Gage. Don't, or is it too late? I don't know. Do you know something I don't know? You guys will have to you guys will have to going forward assume that I don't know anything about GCW, okay? I have no idea what goes on there. It's a trash promotion with trash wrestlers that actually gets good wrestlers to show up there sometimes. I don't know how they do it, but I'm not privy to any of that info, so you're going to have to smarten me up if you want me to comment on it. And my comment will probably just be I don't watch GCW. So I'm just letting you know that in advance. But, all right. So anything else on this opening? Or can we move on? Because I don't want to move on to the next thing, but we have to.
Oh, yeah. I thought we had a deja vu seeing this over again.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Didn't we just see PCO in the desert?
Didn't we? We did. The last time they were there. Because Impact only runs a couple of towns. They run Las Vegas, they run Louisville, and they run, well, that's it. That's pretty much it. Where else do they run? A couple other shows here. They were in Atlanta. They were on Center Stage.
Windsor.
Woo, Windsor. Yeah, they should run a lot more Canadian towns for a Canadian-owned company, but maybe they have passport issues. Anyway, here's what we're talking about. PCO is back in the desert. All right. Oh, thanks, Liz. Dallas and Cincinnati. Okay. Um, PCO's back out in the desert, or as he says it, he says Eddie tried to bury him in this dessert. He said dessert. Let me just tell you something, okay? Fat Eddie.
For some reason, that sounds absolutely believable. Completely believable.
Yeah, Fat Eddie would never waste a dessert on something like this. Let me put it that way. He would not be burying a zombie in it. He would just be eating the dessert.
Or he must really hate PCO though to waste those desserts.
Man, I don't know. I don't know, but yeah. So Labrat says match is going to happen March 17th for the title. What title? What title does Nick Gage have? Well, you know what? Never mind. Hatebot says, for what it's worth, I thought the PCO stuff looked good cinematically. I mean, what it's worth, I guess I see what you're saying, but, you like clearly they were shooting it outside, right? And it had a certain look to it. They don't have the effects to pull that off. So the way the sky looked and everything like that, it was probably a case of them being able to capture something that you wouldn't normally see in nature, but still, this whole thing is stupid. So yeah, Eddie tried to bury him in this dessert. So he ends up calling out Eddie from the desert. He just yells, "Eddie, Eddie!" Sounds like Rey Mysterio in 2006 or whatever it was. So Josh Alexander recruits Rich Swann to his six-man team that he has to make for to face the Bullet Club, and then Burt Macklin tries to recruit himself, and then Frankie Kazarian steps in and is basically like, beat it, kid. So there you go. We got Josh Swann and Kaz. It's looks like they're all set. What do you think of this team? Is this a world beater team here?
I mean, for Impact, maybe.
Yes, for Impact. All right. Next is Callahan versus Rhino in a Step 6 match. I just made that part up. They didn't say that, but that's basically what I get out of it. A little turnabout is fair play here. Khan hits Callahan with the chair as he's going to the ropes, just like he hit Khan on the pay-per-view thing. And then Rhino hits the gore for 1, 2, 3, and then they all get in the ring and stare at Callahan. Very ominous staring. I'm sure Callahan felt slightly uncomfortable in that moment, other than the fact that he got hit with a chair and a gore, but also mostly just uncomfortable from the staring. Any thoughts on the match?
I mean, match is all right, and at least for all the crap that we give Callahan on here, at least like he tries to protect his finisher. I can't recall the last time I've seen somebody kick out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
and it is a pile driver.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so Trey Miguel wants to know what the Director of Authority and the Deputy Director of Authority or Assistant Director of Authority will do for him. And they answer that they have a hand-picked opponent for him at Sacrifice, and they're going to have a 6-man mega match at the Multiverse, whatever it's called, that they're doing with New Japan. So the 6-man mega match, he named a bunch of people, and it's going to be like a 6-way match for the X Division title. So it's one of these it's a perfect match for an X Division athlete to defend his title in, with just a bunch of guys hitting moves on each other. Liz still can't unhear Galahad she needs them to call him Sammy again. Well, there's a more important Sammy going on in the wrestling business right now, and they don't want to actually, probably do that. Oh, and by the way, Swinger and Zicky come through. I wasn't really paying attention at this part. What did they say they wanted?
I think they're trying. Oh yeah, they're trying to get an opponent for, or trying to get Trey to be the opponent for him.
Oh, okay. It didn't work out, right?
Yeah, and I think it was oh yeah, he was trying to get Dango to the. I think he was trying to get Dango to the job for him. And he said he did.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and he did the only job I do is assistant dictator of authority.
Right. Yeah, and then he's like, it's not your job, and he's like, you're right, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
He's killing it in these.
Yeah. He's like, I was thinking, I thought he was gonna say like it's my duty or something like that, but I don't know. He says it's a lifestyle. Does that make sense too? Yeah. All right. So, well, looks like Trey got his answer. He's gonna be quite busy coming up. So there you go. Next we just see a little bit of Gresham and Kushida warming up. They're about to have a match, and then they show us that during the break, Diener, as Tom said, Diener held up 6 fingers at Callahan. It was actually like 4 fingers and 2 thumbs, I think. But I mean, I guess whatever. You get the point. He's letting him know that step 6 was him getting his ass kicked, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. They did not revisit this for the rest of the show. Am I correct?
That is correct. Like, none of this makes any sense at all.
Okay. As long as we're on the same page there. All right, next is Jordan Grace versus Alex Gracia. So you may have seen Alex Gracia as one of those what do you call them? AEW dark elevation, one of those type people. You may have seen her there. She possibly showed up in, I don't remember if she ever showed up in NXT to do a match. She may have showed up in NWA if I remember correctly. And I remember, if I also remember correctly, at the time I was making my notes, I was like, if I remember correctly, she's terrible. And but it's a new day. Yes, it is. So we'll give her a new chance. And then I was watching this match and I was like, yep, terrible. She can't leapfrog somebody as short as Jordan Grace. You might as well just give up on ever leapfrogging. She stumbled running into the buckle. She was generally uncoordinated and slow. You could see Jordan Grace get visibly frustrated, and when a gorilla like that gets frustrated, you probably don't want to be anywhere near her. So this match thankfully ended before anybody could get shot on. And Grace Driver for the win. I mean, that's what I saw. Did you see anything different?
Nope. And this should have been like much more of a squash. Gracia got way too much in.
Right. And if you guys saw it, she didn't really get shit in. Like almost anything she did got countered immediately. So she really didn't get anything. But even that was a little too much. And for her skill level, she couldn't pull anything off. So I wonder if this was like edited down. Like maybe it was even worse. But yeah. Next here we have a moose sighting. It's again a rare moose sighting, and it's our only moose sighting of the week. Where we see Moose go to where Joe Hendry's just, what is going on here? He's just sitting, and there's a bunch of marks around Joe Hendry, and they're all just laughing and having a good time.
And it sounded like he was walking in as Hendry's finishing up a joke.
Yeah,
or right. Or is it like getting to the, or he showed up at the punchline?
Right, but we don't know who any of these people are. Like, they're not wrestlers. I mean, they're like in the show, they're not wrestlers. They might be wrestlers in real life, but they just look like fans hanging around.
Yeah, how hard would it be to like He had him like a placard saying, "Hey, just wear this around your neck, look like your staff."
Something like that. And then, but no, it's just marks. And then, so Moose comes in and just starts kicking the shit out of Joe Hendry and Brian Myers too. Like Brian Myers comes in, they beat him up. There you go.
This might be the first time we've seen like Hendry get heat put on him since he's come back.
Yep. Just another backstage beating. Complete with, this was the on my bingo card. This was the bonus points, because you got the old grab the guy by the back of the neck and throw him into the wall. You get bonus points in your backstage beatings if you do that, and these guys did it a couple of times. So there you go. Eightbot's calling for Big Ray and a bottle of Bacardi on the show next week. Big Ray now with his moon boot, he can't fulfill his doorman duties from what I understand. So I don't know what he's doing that he couldn't be on this show. I will tell you that the show would be extended by approximately 1.5 hours if he was on the show. There'd probably be not as much French Spider-Man as you would hope. So just be careful what you wish for in the chat, all right? It could be one of those like monkey paw type things. All right. Bullet Club walk right past Kevin Knight and Gia. Shane Hayes comes up to them and says some wacky stuff, and they keep moving. And then, well, actually, he said like, "Hey, keep those titles warm for us because we're coming for them," something like that. And then they walk up to Josh's team, who is still standing around where they were earlier. Like after Burt Macklin left, those guys just stood there and were just talking this entire time. I can see how sometimes that happens, where you just sit there and talk to your friends and stuff for a while, and after a while,
it's like, oh shit, what time is it?
Yeah, what time is it? We've just been standing here by this wall. Yeah. The long story short, thing I have a match next week. I can't believe you had the best promo guy in the business, Kenta, just standing there, and you didn't even write anything for him to say. Come on, Jimmy Jacobs. This guy's the greatest. Give him some material.
And it's a bad thing when Kenta comes off cooler than your world champion. He doesn't even say anything.
That's right. He doesn't. All he did was like slightly gesture to belts or people or whatever. He did, Oh, man. Yeah, if you guys have not seen Kenta, look, I'm telling you. If you go to New Japan World, I keep telling you guys, go to New Japan World. You don't even have to sign up. You can watch lots of free content on there. It'll have a little gold thing that says free on any of the content that's free, and you can watch it. And if you click on one of the backstage comments and go to Kenta, you will be thoroughly entertained. I promise you. So, all right, here we go. Jonathan Gresham, the Octopus, versus Kushida, who's a time traveler.
And I just realized that when Kushida does that pose, he's looking at the imaginary watch on his wrist, and I never noticed that till this episode.
That's right. Huge Back to the Future fan. Kushida. He's trying to let people know. Like, that's pantomiming. Looking at a watch is the easiest way to let people know you're making a time-related gesture. But yeah, he's dressed up like, his gear is meant to look like that hoverboard, the Barbie hoverboard from Back to the Future 2. He usually wears the life preserver and stuff from, the
attire. I like the whole gimmick and what he comes out to the ring at. Oh yeah, got that immediately.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we a lot of people have. Some people don't like it. But I'm just like, not everything has to be a life-changing event. The guy just likes Back to the Future, so he dresses appropriately to remind you of it. He's got the silver glasses like Doc Brown. He's got the jacket like Marty McFly. Dork thinks he's gonna drown, and I get it. And then he's just a regular wrestler, but that doesn't matter. There's a lot of stuff like that in New Japan where it's like, I'm a wrestler, but this flavor is designed to add just like a little bit of character to what I do, so I'm not just a boring wrestler. That's it. That's all it should ever be. When you're trying to be a supernatural hillbilly, sometimes you have to walk out over creative differences because you don't fit in a sports environment. But anyway, this is yeah. Don't listen to Javi Uchia. The gimmick is played out. Back to the Future is a beloved classic. It'll never get played out. So 2 renowned grapplers, and how do they kick off the match? With Lucha Libre. It's just what you would think. But anyway, that was like at that point, that was the last time I was not interested in this match, was when they did that Lucha Libre spot. If they had cut that out completely, I think this match would have been excellent. Because I was thoroughly into it. And I've been critical of both these guys in the past. But the first thing I want to ask you before I talk about anything that they did in the match, did you see how John was sweating? Remember when I told you about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this match did not even go that long before you notice it. It was just a couple minutes in, right? You hadn't really done anything. So, yeah. And he just like his wife or girlfriend or whatever. I don't even know. I'm not even keeping track, but they're both jacked and ripped out of their minds right now.
I will say this much. When I traveled with Jordan like 10 years ago, she didn't have that jawline.
Right. Yeah, she's like extra shredded. Even on Impact, which it's like their HD is not as HD as other people's HD, but you can still see every vein that's popping out of everything. So yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's, you can refer to my last, rant on Jonathan Gresham and his sweating and all this other stuff if you need to hear more about that or if you missed it. But anyway, now we can talk about the match, which I got into because they did a real good job working that hammerlock. You remember that? Like when they did the hammerlock thing? Kushida didn't block the hammerlock though. Like there's a way, like when you're doing those spots, because if you crank a hammerlock on somebody, that's it. Your arm's gone. It's just like a Kimura or anything else. Like if all you have to do is just the slightest torque and then the shoulders out. You know what I mean? There's not much to it. So the way you combat that is, I can't really visually show it, or I'm not willing to, but when you got the arm, you got your arm behind your back, then you take your other hand and put on top of the wrist to push it down, push your own wrist down, so that as they're trying to pull it up in the hammerlock, you're trying to push it down, and it's visual to the audience that you're keeping them from jacking your shoulder out of socket. But Kushida didn't really do that. But what he was doing was trying to roll out of it, and when he would roll out of it, like do the duck under thing, and then Jonathan Gresham would like go with him, so he kept the hammerlock, so that was really good. So they were working on each other's arms, because Kushida's finish is the hoverboard lock, and Jonathan Gresham his finish is whatever he wants. So working on that arm, they set that up, and they told a good story with that, including like, when they both go to hit a tackle, and then they both have to sell. They both take the tackle and sell their arms because they've both been working on each other's arms. So that's a good double down spot that they did.
Or when they went to go grab the ropes to stop the Irish whip, they immediately sold the arm.
Mm-hmm. Right. So lots of good selling and just focusing on the grappling. It really made that Lucha Libre spot to start the match extraneous. And Brandon, sometimes, like, I'm sure you can understand this even if you've never done it yourself, because I never really did it. But, sometimes as a wrestler, you just feel like you just want to do something just to do it. Like, they probably expect us to start, just a bunch of chain wrestling. So let's start out with a high spot, like a Lucha Libre high spot with arm drags and stuff. Just, like it's your way of entertaining yourself. Like it's just, like a harmless rib or whatever. Like maybe that's the reason why you do some of those things. I think they both knew psychologically that wouldn't make any sense. So it could just be a fun thing that they thought to do. But yeah. So, so Kushida wins with a hoverboard lock, which instantly gets the tap, because if you're going to sell the arm that much, then you got to believe it, right? So he tapped out right away, and then they shake hands at the end. And even the handshake was a story. Like if you go back to the beginning of the match when they shake hands, and they shake hands a couple of times throughout the match or whatever, and you can even, that's what I'm saying, even if you take something simple like the handshake, you can tell a story in the ring that people can follow, that's easy for them to follow. You don't have to do a bunch of stuff. Sometimes you can just do a simple thing. If you keep going back to it, it'll reinforce it, and then the people maybe remember it more. I'm sure they're going to see enough, head scissors and topes and arm drags, and like I know they're going to see plenty of that. But they may also remember more that, man, they just kept going back to that handshake. So that's what I thought. I really liked the match eventually. What about you?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I thought it was very well worked. Both guys did a great job with selling and bumping, and they didn't do anything stupid and crazy. It made sense. It was a great match. My only thing was like a match like this should get like more of a build to it and be put on pay-per-view. In my opinion, anyway.
Right. The only reason this match exists is because they want to give Kushida some wins if he's going to challenge Josh Alexander for the belt. So they have to show him as a credible submission threat. If they put him over a guy like Jonathan Gresham, who's also known for submissions, unfortunately, he's not really known for wins right now. So if they had been putting Jonathan Gresham over up till now, then you put Kushida over on him, now he's even more credible for Josh Alexander. As it is right now, it's like, oh, well, of course he beat him. Everybody else does too. Why wouldn't they? So that's the situation you get when you don't think far enough ahead with your booking. Then you end up in situations like this where all you've really done here is given, PWI 500's John Gresham another loss. So, yeah. But that's fine. That's fine with me. Next is Fat Eddie being driven to the dessert with, we get a voiceover from Tom, and we get a musical score underneath, just heighten the drama.
One thing I noticed immediately during this, it's like it felt like they were making sure that they were like trying that they did not shoot the driver.
Mm-hmm. Right. Which comes into play later. But for now, this is just a transition to commercial. Yeah. And
basically a little bumper segment.
Little bumper. And then when we come out of it, Killer Kelly's in the ring. And she's sitting on a chair, and she's got a live mic. And I'm thinking, oh, this ought to be good.
Oh, boy.
She calls out the People's Witch, and the People's Witch is more than happy to answer. And we get a live tarot reading, whether Killer Kelly wanted it or not. She didn't, by the way, just in case you were wondering. And then Taylor draws the Tower card, and she starts mumbling about a bunch of stuff. She has my hair. Yes, Killer Kelly. Liz just recently got her hair done with the blindfolded hair thing with her friend. So the colors kind of resemble. Liz and Kelly kind of have similar hair color now. Anyway, what'd she draw? The Tower card. She started mumbling a bunch of stuff about what the Tower card meant. And then Kylan King hits Kelly with the chair from behind. So here's Kylan King, everybody. I'm waiting for the who's in the chat to appear. Who? Are you gonna who Kylan King, Brandon?
Who?
Oh, I guess you are.
Yeah, first I've ever seen her.
Well, Kylan King's been hanging around the indies for a while. She's been on NWA. She's been on AEW. She's been on what else she been on? Mostly just those that I've seen. So yeah. And now she's here. The People's Witch memorized keywords for the Tower card. 3 eye roll emojis from Liz. Yeah. Okay, so now Taylor has another partner, and they're gonna start a coven. It's the Coven. Okay, well, that reaction is about what I expected and what I expect for the Coven to receive every time they come out. Even though she's the people's witch. The people are going to be quiet about it, I guess. All right.
Yeah, bless her heart, she's trying something new.
Yeah, she's trying. She's trying something. PCO's trying. He's hitting a rock with a shovel. Not sure what he's trying to do, but that's what he's doing. And then the Death Dolls teleport in to talk to to Killer Kelly. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to recap what they were saying. I'll just say that they offer help, you know, in terms of they're not a fan of this whole people practicing the dark arts, whatever that means. And Kelly says she's not afraid of 2-on-1 situations, which is a sexual innuendo, I imagine, and she walks out. And then the new team of Taylor and Kylan just walk right up. like they could probably still see Killer Kelly walking away from where they were. They just walk right in. And then you know, they end up working out something where she's like what'd she say? You know, Rosemary's saying, we'll put the titles on the line if you, when you lose, stop practicing this witchcraft or whatever. So it's titles versus witchcraft. And they say witches get stitches.
I thought they're going for the burn to the stake.
Yeah, I thought so too. I actually was waiting for it, but didn't really.
Which would make sense considering, you know, Rosemary's a demon from hell, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I didn't, you know, pardon my ignorance, but I just was not aware of like this whole war between whatever the hell Rosemary and them think they are, which is really just her with just two random white girls. But whatever Rosemary thinks she's doing, apparently that's different than whatever Taylor's doing, and there's like some kind of a dark arts civil war going on here.
Those damn mudbloods, man.
Is this like a war between, you know, houses and Harry Potter or Hogwarts, you know? Like what?
We can't let those muggles get that magic.
God, I guess, right? I don't know, man. This is corny as fuck to me. But
yeah, that too. Elizabeth brought up a great point.
If she's a demon, there's the inherent fact that demons aren't entirely honest in their business dealings. Yeah, like to be contained. Yeah, I wonder how much they really think about this stuff when they're coming up with it, or does she just call herself a demon? I don't know. But in any case, that's what we're looking at. So get ready for it. All right, next is what we're going to look at next. It almost, if it would have went on any longer than it did, it would have made me wish for a dark arts civil war. Because we get the Fat Eddie versus PCO cinematic match, part 2, with music. It's like last time. It doesn't go as long. They just do some really terrible stage combat, and then then Eddie's driver hits PCO with the car, and then they leave. So they leave him in the desert again, even though he was just about to bury Eddie, literally and figuratively. But here's the thing. So they don't show the driver, right? Like, they never showed the driver before. They don't show the driver here when he gets picked up. Is it really that much of a secret? It should be Alicia Edwards.
Right.
Who else would it be?
Exactly.
So is that big of a secret that it's going to be a reveal? I don't think so. So they must have somebody else in mind to make this, like, mean something. Or there's also a slight possibility that they just fucking didn't think it was that important and just didn't show the driver. So I'm not sure. Is it laziness or is it intrigue?
I think somebody's watching some WCW from summer of 1999 and thought, hey, I can do that better.
Oh man. Hey, let me just give everybody a piece of advice. You don't want to steal anything from WCW in '99. Don't do it. That's not where. And I'm talking to you, Tony Khan. Stop stealing things from WCW in '99. All right. Okay. So, yeah. Any other things to add to this? I mean, do you like the music?
They did the production did a great job. I will say that. It was well produced. There was no point to it, though. There was, like, why?
The point was to introduce Eddie's new driver.
If you're stealing ideas from WCW, the driver has to be MI Smooth.
Interesting. Well, as Liz points out, there were no RGB lights. Yes, this was a relatively light-free episode. There was one part, but it was very faint. You could almost say they didn't do it at all if you missed it. Yeah. Oh, the forklift driver. Yeah, the forklift driver. Well, we all know that was Eric Rowan, right? So, all right. So next we get Deanna on commentary for the main event, which is Giselle Shaw versus Mickie James. This is for the title, right? They said this is for the title. Mm-hmm. They had a match. I was looking at the match, but it just wasn't registering with me. I stared at it, and I was like, I'm trying to follow it along. And after watching the Kushida and Gresham match, which I was following along, I saw where they were going. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here. It makes sense, blah, blah, blah. You're telling me a story, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and it was over, and it was good. And then this was I was trying to do the same thing. I was like, I'm following it, but I'm not following it. You guys are just having a match. It's a fine match. They didn't do anything wrong.
But it was just a match.
Yeah, which is happening a lot lately in Mickie James's matches. So, I don't know. It's kind of got a lame match out of Masha, which I hadn't seen before. So, that's disappointing. But yeah, so they're doing well and we're working hard. Again, selling. Mickie was selling a lot here, which is good. The same thing that Gresham and Kushida were doing. You sell, you don't have to do as much. You can do one thing. And if you sell it, you don't have to do 5 more things. Because people will believe whatever you do. Ultimately, the key in wrestling, forget wrestling. Let's just talk about fame. Fame in general. If people like you, they don't care what you do. They like you. How else can you explain how there's so many bad musicians out there? How can you explain all these terrible mumble rappers or whatever, or bad actors that are very popular? Just anything in the entertainment business. People are marks for that person or that group or whatever it is, and it doesn't matter what they do, they'll do it. That's why people want to get people or Bad Bunny. The WWE wants to use them to hopefully see if any of their fans will follow them to the product. I don't watch wrestling at all, but Bad Bunny's my favorite. So if he's on Raw, I'm going to watch Raw because that's Bad Bunny and he's my favorite, right? They want to take that attitude and hope that will latch on, people will latch on to their programming and they might gain a new fan or two. They know not everybody's going to care, but if they can get a few people to stick around that are fans that will now become wrestling fans or whatever, that's how you do it.
And it's worked in the past. You just have to have the television programming to hook them and keep them interested.
Right. But every one of us here, no one's exempt. Every one of us here likes either like a performer of some kind in the arts that's questionable, but we just like them, and it doesn't matter if they're not the best, right? Like we're all fans of that kind of stuff. So it's the same thing with wrestling. Like, if the people like you, they don't need you to do 20 moonsaults. They'll be happy just to see you at all. So you can take that to your advantage and really sell and get them invested. And they'll be more invested in your selling than they will in your moves. That's the lesson that is constantly being taught to the younger generation. And I do understand the younger generation struggles of, I'm not famous yet, so I have to do this to stand out. I do get that. But I'm just saying, some people, when they get to that point, they still don't get it. And that's who we're really trying to save here. So you see Mickie James, she's selling, and she's getting people to say, oh, come on, Mickie, get up and fight. You can do it, Mickie, come on. You know, that's what is smart to do. She could just run over a bunch of pre-planned spots with Giselle. She could also do that. And they did a little bit of that. But it's more important to sell. In the end, the finish is, Jay Vidal gets up on the apron and, tries to, distract Mickie while the ref is distracted by Savannah. And then Deonna gets up off the desk and pulls Jay down. And then she, while Mickie goes over to see what Savannah's up to, then Giselle snatches her up for an O'Connor roll. And then, Deonna jumps in and yanks Giselle down by the hair to reverse the O'Connor roll. So now Mickie ends up on top and gets the 1-2-3 there. So Deonna helping Mickie and hurting Giselle at the same time. And that's how we go off the air with that controversy. So, Brandon, what did you think of this match, this finish, and this? Is it a cliffhanger? I guess the weakest possible cliffhanger.
I mean, I guess you could say it could qualify as a cliffhanger because technically, if you really look at it and analyze it, Deonna pretty much turned face. I mean, she didn't get involved in the match until Jay and Evans did, and basically just evened the playing field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like you said with the match, it was a decent match, but it was just like, you just kind of watch it and it's like, okay, this is happening and I'm watching it. And I'm not really getting anything from it. I mean, they're working hard, they're putting the effort in, but I'm just like, it's not really eliciting anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The one question I did have though was like, did we see anything earlier in the night of Masha and Bully leaving the building?
Nope.
Then why weren't they out here going after Mickie? Like, wouldn't it make sense for them to at some point, even after the match is over, run in and for the attack? And then that way get Deonna in there, have her take a beating to get more sympathy for her face turn.
That's one thing to do. Apparently they didn't want to. Take it up with the new president. Yeah, I don't know. So Hatebot is asking when they're going to put the belt on Giselle. You know they're going to do it. It's going to be a long enough time that it doesn't look like nepotism. That's when they're going to do it.
And also, hopefully, when the story is correct and it makes sense for it to happen.
Right. So, yeah, but I don't know. This was another kind of like really nothing happening episode in general. I mean, technically stuff happened, but I can't tell you anything that I'm excited for going forward. The only thing that I actually found interesting is on the show was a self-contained match that had nothing to do with anything going forward, really. So that's not good. Moose, again, not really used. You know, you see him one time. I don't know. That's not how I'd use a guy that I'm paying. You know, I'd try to get him involved more. Um,
I'd have him in my main event angles, not these. I don't really call Joe Hendry a comedy guy, but he is making people laugh and does throw comedy in there. But he can do a lot more than just that.
right. It's same thing. You flip it around. It's only this much Joe Hendry. Like, no, you got entertaining people that can carry the show, and we're not using them enough. Now, granted, when I look at the rest of the show, I'm like, you know, well, there were a lot of people that really weren't used, and nobody that was used was also somebody that I think gets used too much. I mean, you take your world champion, all he's doing is standing in front of a wall all night. As different friends of his join him. Like, I mean,
Right.
so
Basically, yeah. Basically, your champion hung out in the locker room and chatted with with the boys the entire night.
right. X Division champ had a walk on, like a walk on little comedy bit. You know, like tag team champions teleporting around. Like, I mean, I guess nobody was really used well on this episode. You know, you still got Fat Eddie at PCO fighting in the desert again. Like, and that's where you put, you know, the bulk of your production efforts is into that thing that everybody's just gonna, they're just gonna laugh at it. Like, if people like me are just gonna look at that and go, psh, you know, like that's the most the majority of the audience, I would say. And then even the people that like it, you know, it wasn't like a big of a match or a big of a spectacle as the first time they went out in the desert and did this. It was only a couple of minutes long. It didn't last very long. So it was more like a very brief segment as opposed to a actual match or anything like resembling a contest. So even if you did like this kind of stuff, I mean, you just really didn't get much of it. So kind of seems like a waste of time and effort for me.
And it doesn't help that like that PCO and Eddie Edwards have been written to be no bigger than 2-dimensional. I mean, like, what do we know about these guys other than PCO is just a monster who you basically have to kill.
Right. So there you have it. That's the episode of Impact from March 9th. And I think it leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm not looking forward to anything else. So apparently HateBot is watching the World Baseball Classic or some shit. He's providing those updates to stuff that has nothing to do with anything, just like Canada Spaceman. So he's filling that hole in our hearts that Canada Spaceman has left with all of his non sequitur comments. Thank you very much, HateBot, for being our Canada Spaceman as you cheer for the United States.
USA, USA.
Well, I guess unless you can ask if you guys have anything you'd like to talk about or ask, I guess you got a few minutes. Anything, of course, that's not about the World Baseball Classic or GCW, which are two things I cannot comment on whatsoever. But anything else that you guys want to know, or talk about, while I wait for some questions to possibly generate, I will ask you, Brandon, if you saw anything from the 95th Annual Academy Awards last night.
Other than Brendan Fraser winning, not really. Well, that's all I really know is that happened. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, he won for The Whale. I want to see The Whale. Have you seen The Whale?
I have not.
Yeah, looks pretty good, I guess. I don't even know. I don't know what the movie's about really. All I've seen is the poster, which is just Brendan Fraser fat. So I was like, oh, I want to see this. I don't know. That's all I know about it. I don't know the plot or anything. So, but congratulations to him and everybody else on winning your meaningless awards. I hope that one day we can all move on as a society from awards programs. You know, whether it's Wrestling Observer newsletter or Academy Awards or Grammys or anything. If you want to put on a show, just put on a show. Like if you want to have musical performances, just say you want to have like an all-star concert or something.
Yeah.
You know, raise money for charity. Like, why do I need to see you get like a little golden gramophone statue? Like, nobody cares, and everybody's mad anyway. So, but one thing I think that everybody should be as tired of as I am is seeing people, you know, get like made up accolades. Hey, you're the best. This, like, says who? Like, I don't even care if you voted. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to stop listening to or an artist or watching a movie because a different movie won. So, like, what is really the point? It's just tired and it needs to go.
Award shows are pointless.
Yeah. It's just like reminding you, hey, this stuff exists. You could go see it if you haven't seen it already. Hey, you know all those artsy movies that got made that weren't blockbusters? Those are good, so you should watch those too. You know, all the movies you liked ain't gonna win no awards. You know what I mean? So I learned that stuff. The Academy Awards was a joke a long time ago when I was a kid. Going back and looking up through the history of it, you know, and seeing which movies did and didn't win. Like, what? You mean Raiders of the Lost Ark didn't win an Academy Award? Well, what won an Academy Award in 1981? Chariots of Fire. That movie sucks. It fucking sucks. It's just got that song and nothing else. It should have won Best Song. That's all it should have won. Nobody wants to see two British guys running on a beach. That's stupid. It's fucking stupid. In slow motion. It's stupid. You know, Indiana Jones is still getting a movie this year. There ain't no Chariots of Fire Part 5 coming out. You serious? God. So that's when I knew the Academy was a joke a long time ago. And they've just been continuing to be a joke the entire time. So, I don't know. But the same way I talk about the WWE Hall of Fame, if it means a lot to those people that win, hey, I'm happy for you. You won. You won a little statue. I am happy. But, you know.
It be what it be.
All right. Well, nobody came up with a question. So I guess we can just take it home. Brandon, where can the people find you?
Oh, you find me at Twitter at TransArchisTia, as well as Twitch at Miss Tia the Transarchist, and right here every Monday night for the Impact Attack on the Hami Media Group channel. Whoop, whoop.
That is right. Channelattitude.com for all of your pro wrestling needs. And you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms. You can find me every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern with Big Ray Hernandez for the Next Level Wrestling Review, in which we unfortunately talk about a show that's just as cartoony and bad as Impact. They just happen to have more money and less of an attention span. So you can hear us talk about that. And then it'll probably be guaranteed to be at least twice as long as these episodes. And you can also find me sometimes wrestling with Rip Rogers. Sometimes I'm on there. Sometimes I pop in and say hello if I get an invite. The people, you may have seen me on the anniversary show alongside Deonna Purrazzo and Santino Marella, even though I was on at a later time. There was just so many people that were popping in to say hello that there was a queue line. And people were, Von Lilas was shuffling people out of the line and moving other people in. And so ships passing in the night. But it's always a good time to hang out with them. They go live every Friday morning, except when they don't, which is what they will tell you. So you never know what could happen. And, shout out to Stevie Richards, who's still doing his thing. He took his first unassisted steps. If you watch his YouTube channel, you've seen these shorts or like Instagram stories that he's posting of his recovery and his road back. And from his physical issue and his illness, whatever it is. Stevie's physical issue is being addressed. And he's not walking out of creative. He's walking to the pool for his therapy, and he's walking outside with his lovely wife, helping him film these great inspirational videos and everything like that. So stop in to Stevie Richards on his social medias and tell him how proud you are of him. And he's still putting out YouTube content in terms of stuff that I guess he's already had in the can and hasn't had a chance to edit yet. So he's got a leg press machine review. I'm sure he didn't do that very recently, uh, but he's got a new video up there. So he's still got his fitness and stuff videos going on. So much love to Stevie, and I guess that's everything. So for Brandon, I have been the vet, and I don't have a sign off line.